have the wonderful opportunity to talk with R.A. Salvatore, New York Times best-selling author and well-known to Wizards of the Coast Forgotten Realms book line. Bob, welcome to the show.
Great to be out here again.
So you've got a brand new release, The Orc King.
Yep.
What can fans expect from this new trilogy?
Well, I named it Transitions because it's been 20 years. We've been walking down the road of adventure with these characters, and it's really gotten to the point now where it's become apparent to me that we need to change things up a little bit, but in very subtle ways. So the whole point of this series, as they're doing the 3 books, reading the 3 books, a lot of little things are going to happen to the characters to move them to different places. And it'll all make sense, and it'll be baby steps, but my hope is that when people are done reading the 3rd book, a couple of years from now, they'll look back and go, wow, everything's changed.
Kind of ease them into the change.
Ease them into the well, I want it to be logical. I want it to make sense. I want it to be the way real people and real, groups of friends do change.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So by the end, it's going to be new experience, all new, and nothing old and stale.
Without hitting the reset button.
Right.
It will be, you'll be looking at what had come before and what was there now and say, wow, they're ready to go take on some adventures.
Right, that's very dynamic. It's a great challenge for an author to be able to take on. And how do you find the balance with knowing that there will be new readers picking up this trilogy and also the old readers?
Yeah, one of the things I've done with this whole series through 20-something books now is, counting the cleric books that is I know that with every book you write, you lose readers for circumstances that have nothing to do with the book. People are, getting out of college, getting married, whatever, have a second job, don't have time to read. But also, you pick up readers. Typically, mid-teens or in college or in the military or whatever, they start reading fantasy. So the way I've modeled this series from the very beginning was probably more like Sherlock Holmes or James Bond, where I've just taken this group of characters and I'm marching them down a road from one adventure to another. And the books make logical sense and they go in progression and everything, but really, if I look at the Legend of Drizzt books, I don't think there's any one you couldn't start with. You wouldn't be lost, and you'd be able to figure out who they are, and hopefully you'd like them enough to want to go back and read the previous ones, right?
Right.
That's the way I've done this series from the beginning.
Excellent.
And one of the big influences on me was Fritz Leiber with the Fafhrd and Mouser books, and he did the same thing with those novellas.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're just starting out a new book tour.
Yeah.
And they have you marching across the country yourself.
Yep.
And that must be exciting to go to different cities, talk to different fans across the regions. And
I love the signings. I hate the flights. I'm on a plane every day, and it wears on me, but it's funny because people will see me during the day. My poor wife has to put up with me all day long, but we'll be in the car and we'll be going to drop-in signings, and I'll be like, it'll look like the batteries are dead, and it's just this weird thing that then I get in the store and the fans are there and the readers are there, and I see some young kid who's so excited about the books, and he's kind of looking at me, and it's like all of a sudden it's like someone flips a switch and the energy's right there, and I'm jumping up and down and telling all the stories and after 20 years I've got a lot of stories, and going out and meeting the readers is one of the true pleasures of being a writer.
Nice.
To me.
You mentioned that this is the 20th anniversary of Drizzt.
It really is.
Congratulations with that. How do you think his character has evolved through the years?
Oh, I think probably along the same lines that I've changed. I mean, I was in my 20s when I started writing Drizzt, and back in the 20s you kind of have this surety about the world, and I have all the answers, and it's almost like I thought, I'm a writer, so my job is to give people all the answers, and then you get a little older and you realize you don't know anything about anything, and so you start to recognize that what's more important is to have people ask questions, because a lot of those answers have to come from them, and I think Drizzt has done the same thing. When I've watched him go from being so sure of himself to making mistakes, he makes a lot of mistakes through the books, and now he's kind of like, he's more sure of himself in some ways, but he's much more tolerant of other points of view than he was when he was younger. Because he's learned that it's not always just the one way, but he still has that core set of principles he tries to stick to. I wish I had the guts to do that. But so yeah, it's funny because even though by his terms as a dark elf, he's still a kid, he's 20 years older, I'm 20 years older, and he's kind of grown up with me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, you always hear people say to authors, or you hear the theory, write what you know, write what you know.
Yeah.
How much of your own personality do you pepper into your characters?
I think there are certain ideas that I have about what makes a hero. And I really get frustrated when I look at a lot of pop culture where the hero is just the guy with the biggest sword or the biggest gun. And he's not a hero, he's a dirtbag. But he's got the biggest gun, so we call him the hero. And that never sat well with me. So I think I've got certain ideas about what makes a hero, and I think I've got certain ideas about the fact that there are very, very few people who get up in the morning and say, I'm going to be evil today. And a lot of what we consider very evil people are really people who just have maybe the wrong perspective on things. So when I try to get into the characters, particularly characters like Artemis Entreri or Jarl Axel, I'm trying to find those parts of personality that make sense to me and are real to me and resonate to me. And not just that, Entreri got up today and decided to kill 37 people, so he did.
He had a list.
To me, that's boring. I want to know why this guy is so angry at himself. Not the world, but at himself, that he would have so little respect for himself to do the things he's done. And that's the way I look at all the characters. So yeah, I mean, you put in the things I learned when I was growing up, the experiences I had, the neighborhood I grew up in. I think one of the things about being a writer is that you just observe everything. And you take in all this information and you bring it into your head and you chop it up into little pieces and you rearrange them and you spit it back out again.
Right.
And then you just hope enough people like the way you spit it out to want to read it. And that's what Write What You Know is really all about.
Right. How much leeway do you have with your stories? Is it a collaboration with Wizards? Do they give you an outline? Do you give them an outline?
Well, I have to give them an outline to get paid. That's part of the contract. But when I look at the end of the book, and then I go back and look at the outline I sent Phil, my editor, I'll call him up and say, I really like it, but don't be too surprised.
Right.
Because the book usually looks nothing like the outline, or very little like the outline. Because when I'm writing it really, I let the book take me where it wants to go. But I don't get any. Wizards doesn't put anything on. I mean, I can't blow up major cities in the realms without permission. I can't wipe out a race. I can't kill gods in the realms. I don't deal with them anyway. But I can't go and put Elminster in a book and kill him. I mean, that would be really rotten of me. Ed, thanks for letting me. Mr. Ed Greenwood, thank you for letting me play in the Forgotten Realms. I just killed your avatar.
Right. By the way.
Yeah, by the way. So there were certain. But other than that, what I'm doing is I'm writing stories that are very personal stories in very self-contained areas of a very, very big world. And Wizards leaves me alone. But what they will do every now and then is they'll say, look, you're going to be here, and we've got this product, we've got this campaign source book or whatever, and there's some really great characters. And they'll send me the book, and I'll look at what some of these other guys have done. And where are you going to find more creative people than at Wizards of the Coast? The game designers and the editors all write books, and I mean, so I'll look at different parts of the characters, like in the Hunter's Blades trilogy, and now the Orc King. The Orc King is not my creation. Obuld is not my creation. I first read about him in the Forgotten Realms campaign setting. I don't know who created him, but somebody did, and I just took that template, and they asked me to use him, and so I used him.
Nice.
So we try to get the best parts out of a shared world, and the best parts out of a shared world is when you can, without encroaching on other people's territory, stand on their shoulders.